Hello? Is this working? No, it's not. No, this is...
Wait. Okay, there you go.
Okay, no, this is for you. I've got this one. Thanks. Okay, that's Karin Broker. I'm Meredith Skura, and I'm here to welcome you to the ongoing Scientia colloquia, lectures about constructing the human. I'll introduce our speaker, Karin Broker, more formally in a moment, but I want to say a word or two first about Scientia for anybody who has not heard of it before or doesn't know what it is. It's an institute for the history of science and culture. It was founded by Solomon Bachner in 1981 at Rice University. He was a mathematician, and at the end of his distinguished career as a mathematician, when he retired, he began a second career as a historian of science, also finishing that with great distinction. He established Scientia to foster scholarly talk across disciplinary boundaries, and that is what is about to happen in this group that has had many scientists speaking to it, but today we'll have a visual artist. Scientia also sponsors a series of panels for various events when it's appropriate, such as the Katrina crisis last year, when it gathered a number of people from the community and the campus to talk about things. And each year it sponsors the Bachner Lecture. This year, the lecture, which will be coming up in March, will feature Laurie Zoloth, who is a director of the Center of Bioethics, Science, and Society, and a professor of medical ethics and humanities at Northwestern University, and also a professor of religion at the Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences. That is, she is talking from two fields whose conjunction speaks directly to a number of issues that concern us all today. We also have recently begun to sponsor the DeLange conferences, large events that usually take place in the spring every 2 years or 3 years or so. And the one coming up this spring promises to be a blockbuster. It is about emerging libraries and what we can expect in the future when the things that have been changing so fast are continuing to change even faster. There will be speakers like Lynn J. Brindley, the chief executive of the British Library, Donald Kennedy, the editor-in-chief of Science and president emeritus of Stanford University, as well as our own David Liebren. Now I'm coming back to the series here, and I want first to thank Ellen Butler, without whom not. I mean, everything depends on her coordinating abilities and her keeping ahead of all of us and keeping us on track. I want to also thank the IT people who webcast each of these lectures. It's being recorded right now, and you can find the past ones on the web. As an aside right now, I want to ask you to turn off anything that makes noise, telephones, beepers, pagers, whatever. Each lecture is about 50 minutes, and afterwards we have questions, followed by a reception just outside with wine, cheese, and continuing discussion. This year's topic, as you know, is constructing the human being. It begins from the question, what is man, posed by Kant. It's the question that encompasses all philosophy. We know that individual humans are constructed through development, and the human species is constructed through evolution. But every time we think we can decide what the human is, we find out how much we are inventing it in the very process. We remake our bodies through diet, fitness, surgery, chemistry. There are biotechnological interventions to extend the remaking process further, not only in science, but in language, education, culture, and the arts. Everything conspires, it seems, coming back again and again to fashioning and self-fashioning individual humans. The result is a much debated process that questions traditional categories like gender. By considering the continuing construction and reconstruction of human beings, we can gain insight into our fundamental nature and its ever-shifting representation. I turn now to today's speaker, Karin Broker. She received her BFA and MFA at the University of Iowa and the University of Wisconsin. She studied in France, and she is now the chair of the Department of Visual and Dramatic Arts here at Rice, and an artist affiliated with the McLean Gallery in Houston. She has shown her work in the Smithsonian, the Library of Congress, at Lockheed and Prudential Insurance buildings, and at the Brooklyn Museum. These are just a few. And outside of the United States, she has shown her work in Cuba, Italy, Africa. I won't even bother with Europe. Russia, Korea, Iceland, Taiwan, and Brazil. She has been named the best local artist, and in another year, the Texas Artist of the Year. She has won 2 National Endowment for the Arts grants, a very rare thing indeed these days. I will read to you in the first person, but not me, her words, with which she described her lecture. As an artist, I feel my job is to pay attention and then regurgitate the information that sticks to my brain or my gut into something visual. My tools range from prints, steel sculptures, and small boxes to large-scale drawings. It's the information, however, that has for me the most importance and has the most consistency. I accumulate information in my brain in small Post-it note memory thoughts, and when these notes about someone or something build up to a screaming crescendo, forget that. I manipulate my tools to build those notes into an art thing. It's a gut reaction married to a carefully studied idea. Sometimes it's pretty, sometimes it's not. My work has visually dealt with bad boyfriends, quirky family problems, death, and that ever-marching ticking of time called aging. Now that we're all hanging on the edges of our seats, let me introduce Karin Broker.
One moment. Okay, can we turn the lights down a bit? Anyone know how to do that? No? Thank you. Okay. This is my story, but I look like you. What makes it work as art, I hope, is its universal dimension. As an artist, I'm intrigued with your humanness. We all have families. These people affect us throughout our lives. As we age, we fortunately or unfortunately begin to become more like our mothers and fathers every day. We all grow up, meet people, and unless we're incarcerated, must interact with them. Some people are friends, others mere acquaintances, still others become our husbands or wives. We're either male or female or a combination of both. And we're all growing older. This brings with it its own set of problems, issues, and even anguish at seeing our families disappear before our eyes. It's not enough to say we're teachers, that we're professionals, or that we're business people. We're all living and breathing, and we're each living and breathing to a different rhythm. The comedian Louis Black says we're like snowflakes. I spend a lot of time looking at the human story around me. I'm like a large Velcro ball of flesh. Some things stick to me, and eventually they fall off in another form or configuration. They become my art. This presentation spans about 30 years. Keep up and buckle yourselves in. Here we go. Okay, this piece of art was done like in the 70s, and it's probably the last piece of art my mother really liked. I did this kind of art everywhere. I was a realist, okay? And there are moments in your life that you find that are eureka moments. And I knew something was missing. In grad school, I could draw photographically, okay? I could draw what I could see. But why be a camera? And my sister Pam called, and she was crying. She had a baby, and she didn't like it. And no one understood what postpartum depression was. And of course, my advice was, well, you had this shirt, Pam, you really liked, and you didn't really like it at first, and now it's your favorite shirt, and you never take it off. And I think that was the last time she'd asked for my advice. But I went to the print room, and I did something radical. I radically reworked how I worked. And this was my sister Pam, had a baby girl. She stands really strong. She's really tough, and there's this monster child there, and then her slimy husband over on the right. Sore feet, same time I had broken my feet, and I felt like this, okay? I was on a roll here. And this person in my print studio kept finding me a bunch of crap to give me, and I do realize that people that have some crap have more crap to give you, so I was piling up those little piles of crap on the right. Okay, I couldn't talk to him, so I had a pretty long talk with myself. Now we're at Rice. I was dating someone here, and I had to figure out the relationship. So I'm telling him I don't want his bad dog. And I had to be fair. I have my bad dog too. It's on the right. And then it's called I Should or Should I? Should I marry this guy? Shouldn't I marry this guy? And there I am trying to make that decision. You got to feel pretty bad for this poor guy seeing these prints coming off the press and his relationship before his very eyes. And this is called Can't. I just couldn't get out of Texas. I didn't have an idea, and so I thought, wow, that's an idea. So I did a piece called Don't Know. And there I am sitting watching these kind of images floating across my head. I tried doing these pieces one a day so that I could just kind of spit on my plate. And this is called Do Don't. If you notice, he's speaking this kind of love, these words in the shape of a heart, and she's saying, no, and then this woman on the other side on the stage, she's saying, oh yeah, I love you, but her shadow's strangling the woman in the forefront. When I got to Rice, David Parsons was the sculpture professor, and he had gone to Madison, Wisconsin also. And every conversation boiled down to a conversation about Picnic Point at Madison. I was so bored out of my skull that I had to do this to save my sanity. And I did this piece of me looking bored, looking at his conversation, and he has a postcard there of Picnic Point. He really liked it. He didn't know what I was really talking about. And then the gossip. I hadn't been in a department where there were a lot of secretaries. I was a student. So I realized when women gossip, they're not really visually what's it look like. when they're spitting out gossip, they can't wait to get it out, but they're not really listening to the other gossip, so here it is clashing, Plus I was using wood that I was scavenging from students that they would throw away because they just didn't have much money. So every piece was kind of small. Well, my mother thought I was sinful. We're Catholic. She just kept saying, God, you're just so sinful. It's like, how sinful was I? So I decided to make an altar. And it was truly about this tall, okay? I think it's 77 inches. And this is where Catholicism rears its head, because I went to put aluminum leaf on the background of my little sins. There were 32 boxes here. And then I thought, as a true Catholic, that if I don't give all my money to the church, I truly would go to hell. So I had to spend an enormous amount to do white gold instead of aluminum leaf. And that's all in pencil. Okay. And this is called House. It's 10 feet tall. And as a young person here in Houston and meeting people, I realized, and usually you're at a bar or something, or even on campus, that you start talking to them, everyone starts letting you kind of in to their psyche. They kind of give you little bits and pieces. And this is a log cabin house. And if you look inside, you see me in my first communion dress, my dad working at the steel mill. You look at my mother laying on the beach. You got to see little glimpses of my life. I actually started to make this 8 foot high, but the guy working with me said, oh, come on, that's such a girl size. 10 foot is a guy size. So we did it 10 foot tall. The accurate dimensions are the ones on the side, okay? I want you to notice the pictures. The one in the middle is kind of condensed, stretched, and but this is the perfect color, so you're just going to have to merge all those different items. This is called Interior, and this is just my lonely Friday nights. I'm watching other people live their lives on TV, and this is a 9 by 7 foot piece, so I really felt kind of strongly about it. And there I am sitting there watching TV. Okay, in a relationship that meant a lot. And let me tell you, I'm giving this conversation out here, and a lot of this stuff is kind of like being naked in front of you, so I'm trying to be a little perky here, but this was really a tough relationship, and I did watch him disappear. Every day he'd walk in, oh, that's me, about 1985. It looks better here because I really look thinner on the stretched out one. And then this is the one right there where he's actually disappearing. And every day he would come in and say hi. He didn't really know what was going on in the situation, but somehow I started drawing it. I was doing it psychologically. And finally my head looks like this stupid little balloon, finally erased away to look like you have to accept the situation, but you're still feeling pretty stupid and inflated. At any time you could burst, okay? That's a 9 by 7 foot piece. This is called Going Out. Actually, the right-hand side of that face is painted, and the left side is not. I have still never figured out whether I think makeup makes women look better or not. I put it on, take it off, put some more on. I haven't decided yet. Okay, and this is Woman and Dog. Actually, these are 5 by 7 foot pieces, and they were these flowers on there. And my art dealer, Susanna Sheffield, came into the studio and said, oh, they're pretty. I thought, kiss of death. Kiss of death. I'm not making anything pretty. And within 2 days, I had totally made these 2 drawings. This is the first art box I ever made. I must have made now probably about 150 to 200 boxes. This is about that same young guy disappearing. And this is called 181 Goodbyes. At this point, I needed to make art for sanity's sake. I needed to kind of keep breathing, and by doing that, I needed to do things like nail, and those have all little men, Milagros, these religious little pieces that you get from Mexico primarily. Milagros are from all over the world. The Greeks have them and everything, but these were Mexico. This is called at least 215 hellos, and I'm just blabbing. My little tongue's out there talking to women, because women just plain talk a lot to each other. And there are 215 of those little Milagros on there. Okay. Well, that is weird. I would be up in the, and I was starting to do triathlons. And you're going to notice that my drawings, the figures start getting fuller. The more I start thinking about my muscles and my bones and my energy, I started making my figures not so stick figure-ish. But I was going down to work out with the men. I had, the ugly clothes on. and I'm lifting hefty weights, and they're spotting me and stuff. And I would look at the women across this metal rail, and they're all pretty, you know, makeup, hair kind of nice, doing their little exercise thing all together. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what's this? So I went back and actually started a piece about it. This is a 5 by 7 foot piece. It has this head that actually, it's from Peru. It's a 15th century head that I own. And I drew it in the back, and I built an armature and welded an armature in the front, and it's called Screwed Blue. That says it all. I mean, okay, this is called Hurting Mad. It was the same thing about that separation of how women say, oh, hi, my name's Mary, and yet you realize that up inside the dressing room, those very same women were feeling and speaking rather pitifully, okay? And I do believe when women are mad, they're really hurt. It's a little bit different than men. And as I'm whipping myself into this mental and emotional frenzy in my life, I thought, well, what's that look like? Okay. And I realized that if you have a problem, okay, in a spot, and you start whipping it up, it's a huge tornado. It looks like a tornado. But if you take all of your problems and you start actually thinking about them and deliberating about them and so on, they actually may decrease to a point. It's kind of the yin-yang thing. These are rather tall, and they're suspended. They have Milagros all over them, suspended in the back. These boxes are covered with my etching plates from the know, don't know, should or should I. This is called Searching for Bad Men. This is what I thought I was doing. Okay, there I am. And this is how I thought my heart looked. I thought it had finally broken into so many little pieces that only thing holding it together were the wires. I did a lot of these, and then I would write like pitiful things all around them, and then I would feel really better about it. Okay. My next door neighbor is named Henry, but we also call him Bubba. And every time when his wife was with me, he would be this amazingly sexual pervert. I can't even tell you. It was so bad, I couldn't understand why he would speak to me like this. So I decided I'm making a box about it, and I gave it to him. I wrote every bad word he ever said on there, and he has never said it since. Well, an art dealer's dog actually did bite my face in half, and the Museum of Fine Arts owns this piece here, and I was surprised that they actually bought it for their collection, for their photo collection. And I took a tintype and I actually wired it together because my face truly was ripped totally in half. And I have my little high school picture on the side and so on. And I thought, God, if it was hard to find a date before, try to do it with stitches down your face. Okay. My cousin Bob was taking care of his wife, and she had cancer, and she died. And it's not often I have two tintypes that are actually the same picture. And I turned one upside down in very blue about death. And when I heard, got the phone call that she had died, I immediately went into my studio and did a piece about it. Richard Wilson taught in the, can you hear this? I keep thinking it's moving. Okay, taught as an art historian, Asian studies, and we were trying to decide on a tenure case. And Richard said, well, some vessels are really large. That's what the Japanese say, and some are very small. And sometimes on a small vessel, you just can't cram in the information. It just can't take it. It's taken as much as it possibly can. And I was thinking, oh, please, can I be a big vessel? Can I be a big vessel? So I thought, well, I better draw it. Okay, this is a 6 by 8 foot drawing. This is probably the drawing in my life that made me most ill to draw. It's very dense, and you just kept getting nauseated trying to draw this. There are 4 3 by 4 foot panels, and they have steel separating them, and then I erased out the vessel shape. I draw on Formica, sanded Formica. The beauty about being a researcher at Rice, even though many people wouldn't think the artists are quite researchers, but is that I've been able to study about surfaces. And text is a deplorable place to make three-dimensional things on paper. The fibers just blow up. They just do. So try to draw on it with a pencil. You just can't. And if you're lucky, it's just too humid. So I've spent years, over a little burner heating up dead rabbits and, for glue and stuff from the White Cliffs of Dover, and I finally realized that Formica was the answer. It takes 14 hours to sand a 9 by 7 foot panel, or some student sands a 9 by 7 foot panel. Okay. All right, and then the issue of women. Women and harassment. That's always interested me, okay? Someone said, God, those men are undressing those women right before your eyes, and I'm thinking, what's that look like? So there they are. They're 9 feet tall, all right? But I decided that at the show, the exhibition that I had, they needed a place for you to sit and think, like a library. They needed some mental help, I thought. So I was going to give it to them. So I made 5 benches. Now this is true introspection, don't you think? You get to sit on that eyeball, and you get to read, look at me, don't look at me, no, isn't that nice, ooh, isn't that slimy? Oh, you get to read these conversations and kind of, it makes the whole piece a little broader. This is the West girl talking to the East Coast girl. You can imagine which one. It's called Line Fight. And the little chunky girl actually the sexy one on the left is trying to beef up the one on the right a little bit. Those are about 9 feet tall also. They're forged steel. And I made a bench about that. And the Western girl's talking about marriage and so on, and the girl on the right, the New Yorker, said, I'm very uncomfortable with that. She's got the cigarette thing going on. And other people go to Big Bend camping. I go to Big Bend to work on 6-foot lino cuts. The weather's perfect there. That hot air just blows up over there and just makes that linoleum just melt like butter. And I had my art historian friend stand there in her bathing suit while I actually just did a lino cut of her. And here I am, grounded in reality with my ex-boyfriends floating around my stomach. I do a lot of different things. I draw, I weld, I do books, but it all depends on my time. When I have a sabbatical, I feel like that's the time to write a book. I have time to think. I have time to go. I need the 10, 12 hours a day just looking at a big blank, nothing, and trying to think, God, will I have another drawing inside of me or not? It's 9 by 7 feet tall. And it came to the point that at that time I got married, and everybody in Houston that had known what I was drawing about thought my life was over as they knew it. That I wouldn't be able to make another piece of art because, my God, she's not depressed. Okay, she's not feeling bad. She's not, in a state of despair. And but my husband asked me, was there anything I missed about being married? And I said, abject depression. Everyone needs a good cry. So I had to start rethinking my art. Okay, I had to start thinking about what was I going to do. I couldn't really talk about slimy men anymore that didn't want me. I now had a nice guy. So this is a 9 by 7 foot bouquet. So I decided I was going to learn how to change my drawing style. I took a 9 by 7 foot drawing and totally finished. My art dealer just freaked because he really kind of liked that drawing. And I kept erasing parts of it so that I could see my drawing as I was moving. His words were, why don't you just put it 5 feet to the left and then make a new one? But I really needed to see it. I wanted to see a change. This took me a year to draw, actually. This is, it's very detailed, and it's pretty big. It's very soft. I actually work with water and Conte. This is a 5 by 7 foot bouquet. And as a printmaker, every so often people would say, don't you make any more prints? And I thought, oh, no, not really. But when I was in Italy, I purchased a very small 4-inch engraving. And when I did research on it, I realized that it was a piece that someone else had done 100 years later in verso. So it was traditional to do an etching, let's say in the 1400s. 100 years later, someone else would do it. It'd be reversed, okay, because they're copying it. And then they would do another one. another, and it would be reversed again. So I thought, well, it's about time someone helped this artist along, you know. Nothing's been done since 1500. I better do something. So this is a 9 by 7 foot panel. It's gridded out. It's Karin Broker after Klaus van Vischer after Adrian Collert. Okay, I'm just continuing. And I did it in my own style. This is about a friend of mine in one of the other departments, and she was such a good friend, and she kind of started disappearing on me, just as a friend. And this is called Sad Détente. And you can see her kind of turning away. So weirdly enough, emotional issues are starting to creep back in. It's not about just drawing. This is called Seeing Siblings, my 3 brothers. Okay, articles. This is where I just kind of spout off. I read a lot. I can't get through, I got to read the paper during the day, and after a while, all this information kind of builds up. This is finally that poor young guy that finally disappeared. Remember was disappearing? Well, I boxed him up now. This is called A Long, Slow Farewell to DM, and he's going. And it's always kind of nice then to sell this for like an amazing amount of money. Makes you feel really much better, okay? There is justice, okay? This is called an empty nest diorama. I realized that no matter how old you get, you never leave home. There it is there. It's kind of got the 50s feel, which is where I'm from. Okay, then I decided, at this age, you can do anything as a female. You've got more money. You can get things lifted, taken away, dyed, tucked, nipped, whatever. And I thought, oh, okay, here she is. Here she is, all wired up. I'm just proud as could be about being all artificial. My next door neighbor who trains my horse with me had these emotional outbursts, and I decided to make a box about it. I made 2 boxes about it, and he has never done it since. This is called Cleaning Up, or This Is Not Your Own Private Idaho. It's a bit about the United States heading out to save the world, and it's got this little British tintype in the middle that is about cleaning. Okay, the British are so fastidious, and there they are cleaning up with us. What I'm using here are tintypes are old metal boxes. You see them all the time. They're actually printed by the process of lithography. You don't notice it because you see them all the time. I like really old ones. I like them from the 1800s. They have better printing. So maybe I am still a printmaker, you see. This is called Hiawatha Box. I lived with the American Indians in Oklahoma for a while. And that's the little white man's stupid face on the front. That made me feel better. This is for a box that I made about Russ Pittman's mother. You all may know Russ Pittman. He's been a real supporter of our department. But Russ is also a closet art finder. He will be someplace like in Oklahoma or Nebraska or whatever. And he'll call me and say, hey, I found this metal doll head. You could really use this. And as long as it's a good price, he haggles and but he never saw what I was doing with them. He only heard what I was doing with them. So one day in the parking lot of the gym, I happened to have all my boxes in there and showed him. And he said, oh, make one for me. Oh, make one for me. So I said, well, all right, let's see. And so I talked to him about his mother, Mavis C. And I think he expected me to do something really pretty, really not knowing about her, but I paid really close attention. And what struck me the most was that his mother was probably a world-class bridge player in South America. And when she went to San Antonio, they just weren't of that caliber. And she stopped playing bridge. And to me, that was so shocking that I happened to have that piece of metal with the chair, and I thought it's called Farewell to Mavis C. or Bridge Chair. And it's got all kinds of little stuff at the bottom hanging from his family. This is about Penn, Pennsylvania. I come from 32 miles east of Pittsburgh, and it is basically an ugly little town. It's an industrial town, it's a steel mining town, and actually, to tell you the truth, there is only a post office there right now and one church. But my memory of this town is always so idyllic. It really is. I keep forgetting, it's in color. And when you open up that, it says Pen PA, it's engraved, and I'm sorry I don't have a slide of it open, but when you open it, it has a tintype of a very ugly little town. It could have been Newark, New Jersey. Same kind of thing. This is called double desserts. In my family, we really like to eat desserts. I'm sorry, and it's never one dessert, it's two. So there it is. In the wood shop, I had a group of male students for my advanced drawing class, and we were building these large boxes, and they, I don't know, they just seemed to have, I often say I have a voice only dogs can hear, and I kept saying, you know, make it neat, make it clean, glue well, and they didn't hear me at all. So I had to trim off some masonite from a frame, and I'm at the table saw because it's way too dangerous for them. Well, the nail, I could see it coming, and it shot right into my arm, right next to my bone. And I was really excited, though, to get that nail back, because I could then finally, as a Catholic, have my own relic. Okay? You cannot get body parts from people. I don't know if I try all the time. Oh, knee replacement. Oh, I'm so excited. Could I have just a sliver of that knee? Just a bit, okay? You know, they won't give it to you. They truly won't. And it's just terrible. They give you the bolts. What are they doing with the whole knee? Just give me a bit. Nope, we'll give it to you. And so I did this. This was one of the boxes that I feel so bad about having sold. Okay, my next door neighbor at the farm, you know, Joelle just kept saying, yeah, I'm going to come over today, I'm going to come over today. Well, she didn't, so I thought, I'm going to make a piece about this. It's called Don't Lie. She wasn't the only one lying, I realized, because on this vase, I have written all the people that have lied to me, okay? And I would cross them out. And then I wrote the people that didn't lie to me. Again, I had to come up with, there's got to be someone that hasn't lied to me. So I would write them down there. Don't lie. I was this kind of stream of consciousness thing. And they're all part of our bouquet of life. I mean, we all stick a lot of things in our bouquets and our vases. And, well, some people lie. Well, it comes down to the girls. I tell you, the news is not good for us. You know, this is called luck to no luck. And out of that little female's mouth is a chain. And at the very end is a little four-leaf clover. And if you're born in Afghanistan, out of luck, okay? You're born in China, your luck could be changing maybe, okay? If you're in Tehran, oh, God forbid you're born there. Maybe in Alabama, it's like that. Maybe in Texas, there are other places. Salt Lake City, I don't know, don't want to be there, okay? So anyway, that was called luck to no luck. This is called feeling lucky. You could be born the Queen, or Connie, Mary, Sylvia, Sarah, okay? The tin back there is probably the most courageous I've ever been about destroying something. That was a museum quality piece of metal, rather large, maybe about 3 by 4 feet, and I paid a lot of money for it and proceeded to immediately cut it up. It's actually from near my hometown, St. Vincent College, and this is what Pittsburgh looks like to me. When I say Pittsburgh, I'm using the big generic term. And I have little four-leaf clovers all around there. Okay, child pornography. This is from the 1800s, and it's used to sell shoes. She looks quite beautiful, innocent. So in a way, I'm talking about, it's called fresh oysters. Okay? Everybody, all these kids looking like they're teenagers, looking younger and younger, and our little 8-year-olds looking like little hookers. Okay? Little John Benet people. They look beautiful, though, don't they? I mean, that's the thing. I want them to look really lovely so you wouldn't know what it's about. So you just are the only ones with the inside information here. Of course, I guess it's going to be on webcast, so maybe not. Okay, there she is, another little girl. This is called ach. My feeling of like hitting someone in the stomach, maybe. Encrusting a girl with all these diamonds, marrying them, buying them jewels, you know, and still a girl. Okay, dresser. This is a little girl's dresser, and it's got carved things about growing up older. And you can't really put your hands on the dresser because I took crystals and I actually nailed them. These little crystal beads all over it, so it's a little hard to touch, you know. This is called blissed off, you know, wedded bliss. And underneath it has the word bliss. And I found these wonderful boxes that were printed with women cleaning, all these women cleaning. So they're blissed off, and I wrapped it up like a little package. I have a really good husband, you know. He's really nice about all this. He understands. He always said if he's a good boy, he'll never be up here. Okay. This is called Best Girl. It's got a metal tin in the back on stage, in the little stage, which are recipes, like Betty Crocker recipes, and there is the female in the front, like, what's her name? Ozzie and Harriet. Harriet, you know. This is called Empty Nest. It's about my mom. This is called 30,000 Magdalenas. Let me tell you, I have to entertain myself while I'm working, because I'm pretty much working 10 hours a day, okay, wiring. And you got to keep yourself entertained while you're doing this too. And I watch a lot of movies. I must be the only one at Hollywood Video in Magnolia, Texas, getting movies like this. I'm getting all the odd movies. And this was called The Magdalena Sisters, about the 30,000 young women in Ireland that were put into these basically washaterias, these places to do laundry, and they were left there for years. And I'm thinking, those boys that were molested, that's really bad, and getting all that money. Well, what about the 30,000 women in Ireland? Left there for all their lives. So I did this about the 30,000 Magdalenas, and there was a dead hummingbird pin on her hand, and out of there is this chain with a little cross on it. I'm not very nice to the Catholic Church, I must say. Of course, they're not very nice to girls. This is called Driving a Queen. This I did because I'm chairman. You know, I feel like I'm driving this boat. Hard to turn, going slow, time's out of control, looks like it could sink at any moment, okay? And I'm driving it and thinking, where did I get this talent for this kind of thing? You know, okay, turn that wheel, maybe it'll turn, storms come up. Anyway, this is me driving a queen. That's the Queen Mary. There's me driving the queen from the farm. Okay, now I'm going to be hard on the boys. Okay, this is a baseball bat. This is covered with Milagros. I'm always impressed by the fact that people will kill other people for religion. And, you know, I love you so much, I'll beat you to death kind of thing. But it is still a beautiful object, isn't it? Well, that's self-explanatory. That's a rhinestone-encrusted gun in a world globe. It's got the Statue of Liberty tin underneath. Typically, I stay away from politics, but it's so hard. I'm kind of like the canary in the cage. If I'm doing it, you know it's bad. This is the Catholic Church again. The Vatican encrusted. You can't even see the Vatican for all the stuff on it. And they got the Indians there, you know, and things. Okay, this is a piece about a colleague of mine. And I was so kind of amazed at the relationship changing. Someone that I respected so greatly that could act so wildly and maybe irrationally. So I thought I needed to go to my studio and work it out. I needed to do a piece about me and how I'm relating to this person. I found out it actually wasn't about me. It actually wasn't at all. It's called Bloody Brilliance. And I do believe his brain is in a doorless cage, and he's his own worst enemy. I'd hate to be in his brain. Oh, that's a little hatchet. That's called Bad Boys. Busy Boys, not Bad Boys, Busy Boys. We kind of applaud weapons of warfare for our little kids. But here I come home. I'm always returning back to Pennsylvania, that kind of crappy little town that I just love so dearly. And the word Loyal Hannah, it's actually, the medal was the advertisement for a brewery. There's a lot of beer going around in Pittsburgh, okay? Rolling Rock, this is near where Rolling Rock beer was from. And I feel like I'm a loyal Hannah. That's what I feel like. And not that it's a loyal Hannah place, I'm just loyal. And that's called an empty nest. And I'm sorry, this slide, it's kind of washed out here. But it's got on the top a picture of St. Vincent College, which is why I paid the amazing amount of dollars for this piece of metal, because St. Vincent College is just up the road from us. And my memory of Pittsburgh is so beautiful. You see the little idyllic picture in the frame? But truly in Pennsylvania, you can turn and look 180 degrees and you're looking at a slag heap, okay? You're looking at coke ovens. You're looking at some deforestation project, you know? But you don't really see it anymore because, well, you're with your mom and your dad and your sister. Anyway, it's called Chained Off, and I have all the little chains coming out. This is in homage of my mother. My mother loves the refrigerator. She just does. She's just always at the refrigerator, and it's called Ball and Chain for Mom. And it actually, that ball sits on the ground, and the refrigerator is on a stand up on the wall. And inside is this encrusted little bouquet, because every bit of food is just glorious to my mother. I mean, she's not the size of a house or anything, but she just likes to eat. You know. And my dad. My dad right now is not doing well. And I think my dad is major disappearing in front of my eyes. And I had to come to terms with that. And as best you can, even at this point. And I found these lilies. Actually, I find these wonderful Italian lamps that they're so proud of when I buy them at antique markets, and they have no clue that I'm just ripping them apart. They're so proud of their new wiring, okay? And I'm saying, oh, that's nice. And then I immediately cut it apart. So I made this bouquet. My dad seemed so tall to me, so sturdy. And hanging off of that vase are things from his retirement from work, his pocket watch. And it comes back to my sister. My sister Pam, probably, again, most influential in my life. And this piece, I found, there were 2 lamps, and I could barely wait to buy this. It was at Round Top. And I saw them, and it was like, just, okay, I had to be so calm. Just, okay, that's great. Oh, that's a good price. Great. And I immediately took them home and clamped them in a vise and sawed their heads off. And proceeded to make these amazing headdresses coming out. And I tend to look like the circus creature, or the person kind of doing the dance, and my sister, very quiet and timid, there she is behind me. And no matter what you do or say to your siblings, or how you feel that you're never going to talk to them again, you can't stand them or whatever, you are always tied to them, always. And that's it, ta-da. Yes, do you have any questions? Of course, I pretty much told you everything. You think I told you everything. No, nothing? No one has a question? Okay, Bob, what's the question?
You explained the iconography of your work, but you didn't talk very much about the shifting medium. You said at one point, I'm not doing prints anymore. Is that another kind of evolution? Could you talk a little bit about that part of your psyche?
Well, I find that I still do prints, but I don't do them. I mean, I'm the printmaker. I teach printmaking. I'm the only printmaker we have. I've always shared my time between drawing and printmaking. They're very closely related. You can't do one without having the other, I believe. But I must have the attention span of a gnat or something, because I like the physical labor of doing stuff. I like to change my physical activity. If I'm drawing in a 9 by 7 foot panel, I have to attack it. I'm jumping up and down, I'm moving, I'm actually doing a different movement with my hand, and I have to feel ready to do that physically. And then there are times in the winter when the seasons change, and I think this is the kind of thing from being from Pennsylvania. We don't have the seasons here like that. I go to my studio and I start nesting. I get the little metal out, I get all my objects, I start doing that. So it's in these periods of time. And then, I don't know why, I seem to save my welding to when it's like really hot. And then I think, oh, now it's time to go use that dropped forge, you know, and weld up some and do some metal work. And but I still am drawing, you know. Even if I'm doing steel work, those are drawings. They're still flat things leaned against the wall. I'm not a sculptor. I'm not that. I know that. I would never pretend to be. I'm still flat. I just kind of stick things on boxes or whatever. But my drawings don't give me what my boxes give me. I would like to think I'm a Renaissance person, you know. I don't know, I would like to think that. But my boxes, my drawings are about drawing. They're about the physicality and about doing something really what I think is beautiful. There's a tendency in art to not make beautiful things. And people will try to steer away from it. I don't want to do pretty, let me tell you. Pretty is a death word to me. But could you do something beautiful and make it good at the same time? And I believe that that's what I strive for when I draw. And I hope that my drawing keeps changing and changing and changing about that. But you notice I don't paint. I don't draw in color. I can't do that because then it would be about the color of the flowers. It would be about something like that. I could never make a choice, you see. I just couldn't do it. Besides, I get seasick, okay? And I can't touch canvas. I can't push a piece of canvas and have it move. I will be terribly ill. I can't go on a boat. I can't do that. So in a way, I can't, seeing that movement and trying to work, which is why I work on hard surfaces. So in a way, I have to work with my limitations. Do I think it's a limitation? No. God forbid I had to go out and buy paint. Really. I got enough stuff. I got the welder. I got the boxes. I got the wire. I got the drawing. You know, I got the Formica. I can't do more like that. Printmaking, I think my boxes have taken over for printmaking right now. Again, I don't know what will happen because everything I do is based on some crap or something happening tomorrow or the next day. So I really feel like my art can keep changing. Yes?
Karin, part of what I think you've been telling us is that art is a form of therapy, that you have an issue and you come to a work of art and you work it through. And so my question is, A, how well does that work? And B, do you know ahead of time what the piece is going to look like, or does it evolve as you work on it and you suddenly see how it was meant to be that you hadn't anticipated at the beginning?
You know, it is therapy. And the only time I went to a therapist, I had my questions all ready for him. They said, you don't need to be here. You know how long it takes us to get someone to ask these questions? But I don't know what it's going to be about. I mean, I have an idea. I see a piece sitting on a shelf. And that has a connection, an electrical connection to something I'm watching on TV. That starts as a connection. I walk around my studio and I start pulling stuff off the shelves. I start laying them out. And I am waiting. And it's not waiting for God, let me tell you. I do not hear the voice yet, okay? And I'm going, is this a connection? Is this a connection? And I may start, and it starts to develop. I don't quite know what it's going to look like, but I know that I have to be as honest as I can, which means I can't just be mad at somebody. I have to make sure I'm as honest about my reaction too, which is not always pretty for myself. And let me tell you, it's not an unemotional journey. It's just not. It's just a draining point at times. But I keep going, and then maybe I'll wire it all up. Maybe I have to take it apart. It's not quite there. I have to make a whole paragraph. I have to have the opening sentence, the meat of the project, and I have to have the end. And until I have that, and there's some pieces that aren't ever finished. I still have another baseball bat going on, and that's been like 5 or 6 years now, and it's just not finished. So I don't have all the electrical connections yet. So the answer is no, I don't. But I do have the eureka moment at the end. And then I think, oh, that was damn smart. Shame I'm the only one here to celebrate. Yes?
What are you consuming that gives you so much energy?
Oh, no. No, you know, I'm not sure. I think my mother, who's 82, I'm constantly amazed that she has that also. But let me tell you, there was the period when the boy was disappearing. There was no energy there. And my life didn't look like it was going to have a tomorrow. It really didn't. And when I realized that it would, then it just started new. It just started fresh. I'm thankful for every day. I do new things, and I'm always surprised. I remember when Dean Matisow, former Dean Matisow, was introducing me for my lecture in 1992. He said, I don't understand why she's so happy and her art is so pitifully sad. Well, that's because I am happy. I spit it out, and I have to learn to deal with it. That's the way I see it. I'm not always successful with myself. I'm not. I'm not. I have to be honest with you. But I do keep trying, you know. Yes. Jim.
Oh, you mentioned people altering their bodies through surgery, diet, exercise, makeup, and presumably they do that to make themselves more attractive. But then you were distinguishing between beauty and prettiness. And I'm wondering if the downside of beauty is triteness, or whether there's something else to pretty that makes it sort of abhorrent to an artist.
I don't know. You know, when it comes to women and doing things like that, I say have at it. We're living in a world, we have to be honest, where that's really important. I'm sorry. Women, some guy can go and marry a 20-year-old chick. Until that day stops, you know, some 90-year-old man, until that day stops, I say, women, pick it up.
Karin, you gave us a very nice introduction here on what actually makes an artist work, what triggers you, and so on. Now, we ordinary citizens, non-artists, normal citizens, we look at a piece of art, and we are to a certain degree led by the artist, even if we have our own interpretation of it. How does it grab you when you look at some modern or even classical art? How does it influence you? What are you?
Well, I try to steal as many ideas as I can. I truly do. I'm again Velcro. I will go to an art show and I may really dislike the art, but there may be a way that someone frames something or something that I will just attach myself to, and I will put it as another post-it note in my head. I don't like all art I see, okay? And is it necessary for you to understand what I'm saying here to like my work? You will never get that if you walk in a gallery and you look at my work. But I do know that it's a universal thought, because I know that the women that walk in my studio, they're primarily my purchasers, okay? Carolyn Farb will walk into my studio and she'll choose it. She chose the piece called Sitting Pretty, and that said everything about her. She didn't even have to talk. I just knew exactly what it was about. So I'm pretty much like a lot of women out there, not much different. The only difference is I'm not speaking as well about it as I am hopefully constructing it. I don't do that as much, you know. I hope I just make it. But I do make it. I do make all my stuff for me to keep, okay? I want you to know that. If I ever made a piece that I wasn't going to keep, that it was for sale, just for sale, then I will have really failed. I truly will have failed. And so I feel really badly about it. But I always make sure the price is just high enough, just so I'm not doing the happy dance. But I'm also kind of sad, but oh God, that will buy my new van, you know? Just like that. I mean, does that answer your question a bit? Okay.
Do you ever title a work Untitled, like that baseball bat basher? Been sitting around for 5 years. Is that going to wind up untitled?
No, you know what? Every so often I will put something called Untitled, and I'm dumbfounded that I'm so stupid to do that. It's like, what, I couldn't come up with a title? I spent all this time making it, and I have no title? Like, what's that? I think hard about my title. Screw Blue, I thought was a magnificent title. Searching for Bad Men. I think long and hard about the title. The English language is important to me. The one about the church, mercy and mercy on your soul. I think about it, okay? And you have to remember, I don't have kids. I don't have the photos that all of you have of your children growing up. But when I look at a piece of art, I know when I look at it, I am sucked right back to that moment. I am brought right back there. Do other people like to be brought back to nasty occurrences or sad affairs? Probably not, but I do. I truly do. It makes me realize how lucky I am. It makes me realize what life is like now, and it makes me remember. Because I think humanness is our best quality. When someone doesn't have any weaknesses, then I get worried. I get really scared.
I sense an awful lot of self-honesty in your approach to art, and something that I kind of feel about our undergraduates is that to get into a school like Rice University, you have to be more about pleasing other people than pleasing yourself. And so that often means that you don't really know yourself very well. So I would imagine that it must be really hard to work as an artist with our undergrads, and if you could comment on that.
Well, not if you're teaching in the art department. I mean, our job is to make each student realize that the only way they're going to learn about themselves and make art that relates to them, because that's the only place they have to come from. They truly have to be so individualistic and know, and we have to direct them through that. We have to take them through their bodies, through their minds, through their souls, and get them to learn about themselves to spit it out. The worst student that could be in the art department is someone that's not honest. That would be the worst student. And I think I'd be the worst student of anybody at Rice, to tell you the truth. So, I mean, our job is to be critical and be critical about themselves. That's a hard thing. Now, let me tell you, freshmen coming in, there's a lot of wailing and screaming over there. There's a lot of people saying, well, my mom said she liked my art. I'm a really good artist. Well, you're not now. You're not yet. And if you think you are, take the money and go to the Bahamas. Go drink. Don't be here. Go to Tahiti. Go to where Gauguin painted. Don't be here. But if you want to learn, we've got to help you through that. Because we need you, whether it's through writing, we want you to write, we want you to think, and we want you to draw and paint and sculpt what you know and from yourself. And how do things relate to you? And that looks very different from student to student. Sometimes we're successful and sometimes we're not. Maybe as seniors, sometimes we still say, well, you know, I really just want to do digital and just do, you know, graphics. But that's not for us. Does that help you a bit? You have to work at it. It's really something to see students coming into the print room and having to meander through their brains. I've always said that what I really would like for students to have, corners for every room. My print room have corners where every student can go and stand without their iPods, their phones, their computers, and get bored. Because once they get bored and they stop listening to stuff, they'll start listening to themselves. The next, I'd like them to have tails, because while I'm talking, if they could understand, their tail would be up, and then when I didn't, they'd go down, and then it'd go up, and then I could work with them, you know? Those are the only two things I want. Given that, I can work with you.
One more question?
Yeah. Yes, Liz?
I noticed that some of your types many have figures or animals, but sometimes that can also be eyes.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I do that with a lot of female tintypes, too. Yes, I do. I just think sometimes women aren't looking. I believe women could move this world to better things. Truly do. I'm a radical. I'm tired of listening to men. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. I'm tired. Yeah, they've led us. They've tortured us. They kill us. They love us to death. But I'm ready for women to do it. And I believe women aren't looking. And it's the women's fault. They have to take responsibility. Women have to say, wait a minute, I don't want this crap. Again, my voice is only dogs can hear. But on the other hand, I think that's why I do it. They're not looking. So I'm equally as hard on women as I am men. Don't worry about it, guys. It's a balance there. Thank you for coming.
You've changed and you haven't changed. Well, I can tell you stories about that. Thank you.
Things. One is I've always been very interested and fascinated in the conjunction of technical tools and art. The fact that